Hey everyone, I'm back. Sorry for my absence. Still kind of going back and forth between feeling well and feeling unwell. Hopefully I can get it all checked out in the next couple weeks or so, but really feeling better the last couple of days, so hopefully it'll stick. So I figured this would be a perfect time to go ahead and get a little caught up and do the thing this week, or the things this week. So again, 3 topics that we're doing this week. I will tag the person who created it, Lisa, if you'd like to participate. So this week we have one is in no particular order because I can't remember, but one is to show your refrigerator, the front of your refrigerator. 2 is to talk about like what posters you had on your wall when you were growing up. Not like when you were like a teen, but you know, like 10, 11, 12, 13, that kind of tween phase. And then the 3rd is a book that you remember from your childhood, or your favorite book from your childhood. So we'll start with the fun one, which is what we had on our or on my wall growing up. So I figured everyone was going to do the typical, oh, I really liked Kirk Cameron. Well, yeah, you and everybody else. You know, I really liked Johnny Depp. Yeah, you and everyone else. So I figured we would go through the ones that I am slightly embarrassed by, but I will admit freely here. So I grew up in San Antonio. I grew up in a neighborhood where we were really the only primarily English-speaking family. Everybody else in our neighborhood was bilingual, with Spanish being the first language, English being the second language. So that being said, I grew up listening to Menudo. Yeah, so when I was, how old was I? I must have been like 9. Hold on, there's a dog in here. Yeah. So yeah, when I was like 9, I remember at Ingram Park Mall in San Antonio, Menudo did like this appearance or whatever, and there was a riot, like a crazy riot. If I can find like a link to the story, like I'll post a little link like right here, so y'all can read about it. But like glass windows were like smashed out. It was just ridiculous. And like I said, I must have been like 8, 9, maybe 10 at the most. So yeah, Menudo. So I'm gonna post a little photo, Menudo, right here. I guess maybe because they were like non-threatening looking and kind of bad boy, at least what passed for bad boy in like 1984. But yeah, I mean, like ridiculous, like crazy, whatever. Say what you will about, you know, who the kids today are all about, your One Direction and stuff like that, but like, I don't know, going back, I would take like a One Direction over Menudo any day. And that's what we wore in the 80s, people. If you're like 23, 24 and you're like weren't born in the 80s, we dressed like that. Our hair looked like that. It's crazy. So yeah, Menudo. In addition to Menudo, I was really into New Edition, and I wasn't like super into Bobby Brown like everybody else. I had a thing for Ralph Tresvant. It's the falsetto voice thing, and I'll touch more on that later. And then growing up, my favorite TV show was Facts of Life, and in like the later seasons, after they moved out of the girls' school and were living in that house with like the candy store or general store or whatever attached to it, who knows, when they pared it down to just Blair and Joe and Natalie and Tootie, there was a boy on it. I don't even remember like what his backstory, probably some orphan or something equally tragic, but he's played by Mackenzie Austin. So here's a little photo. But yeah, he's the younger brother of Sean Astin of Lord of the Rings fame. I was super into him. I thought he was so cute. And I mean, look at him. He's like adorable. And then going back to the falsetto voice, I will throw in one that everybody had, which is Jordan Knight. Like, seriously, are you kidding me with that hair? Like, for real. But again, the pretty falsetto singing voice that I am apparently so keen on, or at least I was until I discovered Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins in 8th grade. So that's who I had all over my walls. I had all the rest of the normal kind of teen things, like the rest of the New Kids on the Block, and I don't even know who else was popular. I'm sure I had a Johnny Depp or two, River Phoenix or two. But yeah, that's the bulk of it. When I got to be about 12, it was pretty much purely New Kids on the Block, like everywhere. So the second thing that we're going to talk about is what is on my fridge. And I don't really have a lot on my fridge. I'm not one of those who puts up a lot of magnets, not for any specific reason other than I just never think of spending the money to buy magnets or whatever. We don't have a lot of photos of us floating around, so I don't have like photos on the fridge or anything like that. But here's a photo of what I do have. Okay, then the last thing we're talking about is a book from when we grew up. And I had to think really hard because I don't remember a lot of books, at least not a lot of books that I remember either reading over and over or being read to me over and over. The only one that sticks out is a book called Strega Nona. It's about this old lady in Italy, and basically the crux of the story is there's this guy, and she's like, hey, I'm boiling some pasta, come watch my pot. And he's like, okay, and he kind of sees her saying like some magic words, and like the pasta in the pot expands, like it keeps going, and then she says another magic word, and then like it goes back into the pot. So he's like, that's freaking awesome. I'm paraphrasing here. So she's like, hey, can you watch my pasta? And he's like, yeah, that sounds great, Strega Nona. And so he does, and he's like, I want to try that, like, expanding, contracting pasta thing. So he says the magic words to make it grow, and he's like, sweet, okay, time to bring it back in, boys. And then he says the magic word to bring it back in. It doesn't work because he doesn't do it quite right. And then the pasta keeps going and going, and it, like, goes out the windows and all over this little Italian town or whatever. It's a lot better than what I make it sound. But that was the only book that I can remember that over and over and over, like, I would read. I remember the pictures. I remember everything about, like, what the book looked like and all that good stuff. So that book, that was probably, like, when I was maybe, like, 4 or 5. But yeah, so those are my 3 things this week. And hopefully I'll be able to post videos a little bit more often, talk a little bit more TTC stuff. And yeah, so I will see everybody tomorrow? Maybe. We'll see. Have a good night.